It is our final installment of the McHugh Report, or as it were, the Orange and Blue Report. Jeff liked the McHugh Report. I said orange and blue. I won out, so we're switching it. A little bit of a hybrid here today. Dave Koehn, Director of Broadcasting and Voice of the Cavaliers, alongside Director of News Content for VirginiaSports.com, Jeff White. Glad to have you along with us as we get ready for game week. It's finally here. We've been talking all preseason leading up to this about what this Virginia team's all about. Now we get to talk about someone else, and that's kind of the exciting part, I know, from Virginia's side of things, and certainly for William and Mary. You finally get to hit somebody in a different uniform.
Dave, as part of your preparation, I know you spend a lot of time looking at the opposing team. What strikes you, first of all, about William and Mary's offense? It's probably worth noting that their head coach, Jimmy Laycock, who's been there forever, is known as an offensive mastermind, and no matter who the offensive coordinator is, he's often the guy calling the plays and running that show. I
think he is the stability for this William and Mary team coming into this game, because the reality of the situation is you've got all new quarterback play, you've got all new running back play, the right side of your offensive line is new, so they've got a lot of question marks on that offensive side of the ball as well for William and Mary, and I think that does put them in a somewhat unenviable position as they try to break in a lot of new personnel. It'll be interesting to see what kind of schemes they have, and can Virginia defensively now in year two? This is the question. Last year we saw them play against Richmond, another FCS team, looked out of sorts throughout that game. There was not that level of cohesion. Here in year two, based on what we've seen in practice, it does have the feel of a much more cohesive unit. It seems like they know where they're going.
Yeah, I mean, it absolutely should be a better defense. Now they have to go out and prove it, but last year there were first-year, first-time starters across the board on defense, with a few notable exceptions: Micah Kaiser, Quinn Blanding. You know, I'd be shocked if this defense is not significantly better than it was last year.
Yeah, they've got a lot of familiarity with the system, much more so than they did a year ago, so we'll see how that plays into this thing. Let's take a little bit of a closer look at this William and Mary offense and some of the things we may see in this game. This goes back to some of the problems that Virginia had as a defense a year ago when they played against Richmond. Some of these stretch plays, those types of plays that got Virginia's defense a bit off kilter. You can see William and Mary has traditionally liked to play out of this pistol formation. This is how they can get those edges. And for Virginia, those outside linebackers, we've said it so many times how important they're going to be to maintaining that defensive edge.
Yeah, they have Chris Peace, Malcolm Cook. Their main responsibilities include setting the edge. They cannot let people get outside them, as happened so often last season.
When you talk about William and Mary, as much as I discuss the fact that they don't have a lot of experience from the standpoint of the backfield, their wide receiving core, well, that's where the strength of this offense is, and it's led by that guy, Devontae Dedmon. 2 years ago, 2 touchdowns against this Virginia defense. He was a very dynamic player the last couple years, and he figures to be so again this season. And as much as you can see as William and Mary likes to spread you out defensively, they're also not afraid to go over the top sometimes, and that's where Dedmon can also be a threat. Special Teams Player of the Year in the conference 2 years ago. He can do a lot of different things to make you put a defense on its heels. But if you think he's their only weapon, well, you're not paying attention, because William and Mary has a host of receivers, including Western Albemarle's own Daniel Kuzjak. A bit more of a possession receiver, but a big physical receiver that, yeah, he's going to come back here with a chip on his shoulder, wanting to prove his hometown college wrong for passing on him, and he brings some size.
He does, and I think that's one thing that should work in Virginia's favor. This is probably the largest secondary in terms of height that it's had in memory, at least, with Quinn Blanding, Juan Thornhill, Tim Harris, Bryce Hall, all over 6 foot, all big guys who can run. You know, sometimes you get matchup problems in the passing game with a really tall receiver and a small DB. That should not be an issue Saturday for Virginia.
All right, now on the other side of the football, as we examine this game even further, you've got a Virginia offense that likes to throw the football, and Bronco Mendenhall's made no secret of the fact that Kurt Benkert, he feels like his best player on that side of the ball. They expect to throw the ball a lot, but in this game, you wonder, against an undersized William and Mary defensive front 7 that has 700 classmen, it's going to be an interesting matchup to see if Virginia elects to try and hammer the ball a little bit more inside than they would otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, ultimately, if a team is to be successful, it has to be able to impose its will offensively on the other team. And when you have an FBS versus an FCS, you know, it's incumbent that you're able to get those tough yards when you need them. And, you know, the game might evolve, it might turn out differently, but I feel confident that Virginia will start at least trying to run the ball up the middle, take advantage of its running backs, see if it can overwhelm William & Mary defensively.
I have to think turnovers, this is the one thing we haven't really touched in on yet. In 2009, when they beat Virginia, they forced 7 turnovers in that game. That really is the great equalizer in so many of these cases, and you know Jimmy Laycock knows that.
Yeah, and turnovers have plagued Virginia for years now. You know, if there's a common denominator in a lot of these losses, it's the turnover margin has not favored Virginia. The streak now is 42 games for UVA with at least 1 turnover. You know, if the Hoos can play a clean game against anybody, that's going to dramatically improve their chances of winning. If they turn the ball over and lose the turnover battle, it's going to be tough. We saw that last year. We've seen that years before that.
You say McHugh report, I say orange and blue report. That's all we got for this time. We'll be seeing you at the stadium 3:30 kickoff Saturday, Virginia and William & Mary to start this 2017 campaign.